I've always believed quiet has its own kind of music. The way the creek hums under the bridge in early morning light, a low, steady whisper like secrets shared between stones. The sound of boots on weathered timber, each step a familiar echo. The soft groan of planks that have seen too many seasons, rain-swollen winters, sun-baked summers yet still hold steady, unyielding as an old friend's promise. For 16 years, that little bridge behind my house carried nothing heavier than my pickup rattling home with a load of lumber, a couple of kids on bikes wobbling across with giggles trailing like exhaust, or once in a while, a neighbor's old golf cart puttering over when the main road iced into a treacherous sheet. It was simple, solid, and mine. Just a wooden span over the creek, a quiet declaration of freedom. I could come and go without asking permission from anyone, my land stretching right up to the water's edge, taxes paid, sweat equity invested in every nail. Then one morning, that peace shattered under the growl of a diesel engine. I stepped out onto the porch, mug of black coffee steaming in my hand, and there it was, a bright orange cement truck grinding down my driveway, its massive drum spinning like a hungry beast, gravel spitting in every direction under the churning tires. And standing beside it, clipboard clutched like a shield, was our brand new HOA president, Valerie, blonde bob haircut sharp as a ruler, mirrored sunglasses hiding her eyes, and that smile polished, predatory, the kind that says good morning while plotting your afternoon. The bridge trembled as the truck inched forward, the driver glancing nervously in the rear view. I set my mug down hard on the railing. "Hey, that bridge isn't rated for that weight," I yelled, voice cutting through the rumble. Valerie glanced over, half smiling like she'd rehearsed it. "Then maybe you should have built it stronger, Ethan." That line hung there, sharp as a splinter. Right then, I knew it wasn't about cement at all. It was about control, who owned the quiet, who decided the boundaries, and my little bridge. It was about to become the front line. Now, I'm not someone who picks fights for sport. Hell, when the HOA formed 3 years back, I voted yes without a second thought. Figured it'd keep the entrance looking sharp, maybe trim the overgrown hedges, plant a few crepe myrtles and, who knows, get us a couple of those solar streetlights to chase off the evening shadows. $50 a year, pocket change for a little community polish. I even attended the first meeting, sipping weak coffee in a folding chair, nodding along as folks dreamed up potlucks and playground upgrades. It seemed harmless enough, like joining a book club that actually reads the fine print. But power's a funny thing. Slippery as creek mud after a rain. Give the wrong person a clipboard, and suddenly they're strutting like the mayor of a one-stop-light town. Our first board bailed after 6 months, too much bickering over fence heights and holiday light deadlines. So in swoops Valerie, fresh off a self-nominated campaign that smelled more like a coronation. Blonde bob, power suits, and a voice like honey over gravel. She got elected on promises of visionary enhancements. Whatever that meant. Turns out it meant a whole lot of her husband's contractor rigs rumbling through the neighborhood, paving projects here, retaining walls there. Every improvement seemed to involve one of his flatbeds or backtoes invoices, rubber-stamped faster than you could say conflict of interest. I didn't mind at first. Roads needed fixing. But when those trucks started eyeing my bridge like it was public domain, that's when the honey turned sour. It started small, the way these things always do, a polite invasion disguised as concern. A month after her election, a crisp envelope arrived in my mailbox, all official letterhead and passive-aggressive font. Friendly reminder, it read, "Your kayak rack violates our visual harmony guidelines." Attached was a grainy photo of my old aluminum rack, tucked 20 feet inside my property line, rusting quietly under a live oak and bothering exactly no one. Visual harmony. I'd laugh if it wasn't so absurd. That rack had held my paddleboards through 2 floods in a north. It was as much a part of the landscape as the Spanish moss. I fired back a polite email, attached the county survey stamped in blue ink, arrows drawn clear as day. My line, my land rack included. I appreciate the heads up, I wrote, but per Lincoln County records, this is private turf. Thought that'd be the end of it. Bureaucracy bumping into reality. Case closed. Nope. 2 weeks later, at the monthly HOA meeting in the rec center's musty multi-purpose room, Valerie unrolled her master plan like a conquering general. It was a laminated map that looked like a third grader's art project. No scale bar, no topo lines, just a wobbly blue squiggle and marker labeled Shared Creek Access. She jabbed at it with a red pen, her mirrored shades perched on her head like a crown. "As you can see," she declared, voice echoing off the cinder block walls, "both sides of this bridge provide ingress to our community recreation space. It's all about connectivity, folks uniting us over that beautiful water." Half the room murmured agreement, visions of picnics dancing in their heads. I stood up slow, unfolding my own survey, the real one, edges crisp from the assessor's office. "As you can also see," I said, holding it high like a shield, "the public easement dead ends 53 feet shy of the creek. That bridge, my bridge, it's private property, clear as the deed I pay taxes on." A few nods rippled my way, but Valerie just tilted her head, that half smile curling like smoke. "We'll take it under review," she purred. "HOA speak for we'll do whatever the hell we want, and you'll smile about it 2 weeks on the dot." I woke to that familiar diesel roar again, the same cement truck, churning like a mechanical beast, barreling toward a muddy patch across the creek that Valerie had unilaterally dubbed Phase 1 Community Courts, pickleball. She called it, as if smashing plastic balls would fix whatever ailed her empire. The driver honked once, waved like we were old pals, and rolled right over my span. Boards flexing under the weight like they were auditioning for a collapse. I felt the vibration rattle up through my floorboards, coffee sloshing in my mug. That was it, the line crossed. Literally by noon, I'd sunk a cedar post at the approach's mouth, thick as my forearm, and screwed in a reflective sign big enough to spot from orbit. Private bridge, -5-ton limit. Trespassers prosecuted. I strung a heavy chain between two bolts, snapped on a padlock the size of my fist, industrial grade, the kind that laughs at bolt cutters. It felt good, like drawing a moat around my sanity. By lunch the next day, chain vanished, post snored like they'd met a chainsaw. In its place, zip-tied to my cedar, a pastel HOA notice, all flowery borders and veiled threats. Non-compliance, unauthorized obstruction. Remove within 24 hours or face fines up to $500 per day. That was the snap the moment politeness peeled away. Like old paint, I stopped replying with surveys and started building a case. Tire tracks photographed at dawn, timestamps logged in a spiral notebook, license plates zoomed in sharp as accusations. Every rumble, every unauthorized crunch over my planks, captured in pixels. Pictures don't argue, they testify. Word spread through the ridge like wildfire in dry grass. Neighbors texted in the dead of night. You're absolutely right. Ethan Valerie's gone rogue. Others fired up the community Facebook group. If he didn't want neighbors using it, he shouldn't have built it in the middle. Funny thing, it wasn't in the middle. It was smack on my deeded dirt, the land I mowed, mulched, and muscled back from the wilderness myself. My buddy Joel swung by that evening, toolbox clanking in his truck bed, 2 thermoses of coffee steaming on the tailgate, retired mechanic with hands like leather and a grin that said he'd seen worse than busybodies. He eyed the scarred post, the dangling zip tie. You're about to have a war on your hands, brother. I took a sip, black and bitter. Already in one at the next board meeting. The rec center smelled like stale donuts and desperation, folding tables dragged into a horseshoe. Fluorescent buzz humming overhead like a swarm of judgmental bees. Valerie had gone full corporate crusader, wheeling in a projector cart with the solemnity of a tank rolling into town. She dimmed the lights, clicked to her opening slide. Ironwood Ridge, Community Connectivity Plan. Stock photos bloomed across the screen, diverse families picnicking by cartoon creeks. Kids, high-fighting over pickleball nets, zero mention of deeds or no trespassing signs. This is our future, she beamed, laser pointer dancing like a firefly on steroids, linking homes, hearts, and that gorgeous waterway. Who's with me? Murmurs of applause, a few claps from her inner circle, when she rapped with a flourish. Thank you for your spirit of cooperation, Ethan. I couldn't hold it. I stood, chair scraping like a challenge. Spirit's a fine thing, Valerie, warm and fuzzy, but it isn't binding. Deeds are. I tapped the folder in my lap, surveys peeking out like loaded dice. She raised an eyebrow, cool as creek water. We'll consult legal, of course. I met her gaze, the room hanging on the edge. You might want to consult physics first. Laughter trickled from the back, old Mr. Hargrove choking on his cough drop, but Valerie just clicked off the projector, light snapping back like a slap. Meeting adjourned. As folks filed out, Joe leaned in from the shadows. You just poked the hornet's nest, man. I shrugged. Nests need stirring sometimes. A week later, the hornet buzzed back louder, meaner. I was mid-sip on the porch when that diesel growl clawed the air again. The orange beast lumbering up like it owned the gravel. This time, Valerie rode shotgun, her bob fluttering in the cab's breeze. I didn't yell. I stepped onto the bridge, hand up flat as a stop sign, boots planted on the center span. The truck braked, gravel crunching, driver peering out with a mix of apology and exhaustion. You're over the weight limit, I called, voice steady over the idling rumble. Signs right there, 5 tons max. Valerie leaned out the window, sunglasses perched like armor. This is a community project, Ethan. Don't make it harder than it has to be. She motioned grandly toward the muddy lot beyond the creek, where rebar stakes poked up like defiant weeds, her precious pickleball pit. The sign says 5 tons, I repeated, not budging. Her lips thinned. The sign wasn't approved by the board. I couldn't help the grin. Neither was the bridge. The driver snorted, muffling a laugh into his sleeve. Valerie rolled up the window with a decisive whir, and the truck eased forward anyway, tires kissing the planks, boards bowing like they were begging for mercy. I held my ground till the rear axle cleared, then watched the whole rig vanish into the trees. A hairline crack spiderwebbed down the nearest plank, faint as a whisper but loud as a warning in my head. That night, under the porch light's yellow pool, I traced it with my thumb, wood rough as regret. All right, I muttered to the dark. If they want a lesson, they'll get one. Joel showed up at dawn, toolbox in one hand, thermos in the other, black coffee strong enough to wake the dead. We fixing or teaching? he asked, eyeing the crack like an old scar. Both, I said. We yanked up the decking near the center span, exposing the support plates I'd bolted in 15 years back. Back when the bridge was just a dream sketched on graph paper. See these load-bearing bolts? I pointed Reese from yesterday's truck, still smudging my fingers. If we swap M for shear pins calibrated right, it'll handle cars, pickups, even that golf cart on ice. But the next 12-ton beast, pins give way, controlled drop. No one's hurt, just ... educated. Joel nodded slow, wiping sweat from his brow as the sun climbed. Gravity's the best teacher, silent, impartial. We spent the afternoon wrenching and welding, nothing flashy or felonious, just engineering with an edge. By dusk, we bolted down trail cams, one tucked under the decking for underbelly shots, the other trained on the approach like a hawk's eye. The bridge looked untouched, innocent as ever. I tested it with my truck tires, hummed, span flexed a hair, then settled. Perfect. 3 mornings later, the growl returned, right on cue. I stayed put on the porch this time, tablet propped on my knee, feed live from the cams. Valerie stood trackside, hands on hips like a drill sergeant marshalling troops. Her neon clipboard warriors, 2 wide-eyed volunteers snapping pics for the cause. The driver crept on, front wheels dipping, sudden a soft groan. Then the shear pins bent, not snapped, just enough to sag the deck a few inches into the drink. He froze, tires spinning mud. Keep going, Valerie barked, waving like she was landing a 7 for 7. He did. Back wheels grinding free, but the drum tilted wild, half a ton of wet cement slopping out like gray lava, glugging into the creek with a splat that echoed like thunderclap laughter. Bubbles frothed, rocks vanishing under the sludge. Valerie's screams split the air, half fury, half what the hell. You're finished, Ethan. Sabotage. This is sabotage. You're going to jail. I strolled down easy, hands in pockets, boots crunching gravel. Morning, Valerie. You might want to read the sign next time. You sabotaged this bridge, she shrieked, jabbing a finger slick with splashed mix. No, I said, calm as the creek's ripple. You sabotaged common sense. Right then, a sheriff's cruiser nosed into view, lights off but purposeful, someone's frantic call paying off. The deputy unfolded out, Stetson tipped back, taking in the mess, spilled slurry hardening like bad decisions. Truck half. Ma'am, he drawled, notepad flipping open. This is private property. Posted limit, clear as day. The driver ignored it. Valerie's jaw worked like a rusted hinge. But it's a community route. He squinted, unimpressed. Got documents proving that. Her silence was deafening. I handed over the tablet footage, crisp timestamps, ticking like a guilty heartbeat. He watched a beat and nodded. Looks clear to me. Reckless endangerment. Maybe. Y'all stick around. Joel sidled up behind me, whispering, you planned that too well. Just enough, I murmured. Valerie lunged for the truck's running board, foot slipping in the fresh pour ankle-deep in cement slurry. Her power shoe sucked like quicksand. She flailed, cursing, as a couple neighbors who'd gathered for the show burst out laughing, raw and relieved. Even the deputy cracked a grin, Stetson dipping. By dinner. The video was wildfire, my cam feed, edited quick by Joel with a dash of slow-mo and that perfect splat sound. HOA president's cement truck sinks on private bridge. Instant karma, 500,000 views in 2 days flat, shares exploding across Reddit and local news feeds. Someone layered on epic orchestral swells, caption blazing, gravity always wins. Valerie, true to form, didn't slink. She fired off a mass email blast by midnight. Urgent alert, unsafe private structure puts community at risk. All caps, exclamation points like buckshot. Next morning she marched back with her neon-vested minions, clipboards clicking, pointing and measuring like they were claiming the moon. One volunteer, a nervous kid with a tape measure, read my sign aloud, private bridge, 5-ton limit, then muttered, maybe we should go. Keep recording. Valerie snapped, undeterred. An hour later my inbox pinged, official notice. $25,000 fine for property damage to community asset. I laughed till my sides ached, coffee sloshing. That afternoon, the county inspector rolled up, a polite fellow with a clipboard of his own and a thermos that smelled like heaven. Got a complaint, he said, ambling to the span. Claims you threw this up without permits. I handed him the folder, thick as a novel. Blueprints, approvals, the works. Built 16 years ago, Ray County stamped and all. He leafed through, nodding like an old ump calling a safe hit. It looks fine to me. Solid work. Valerie must have been binocularsing from her deck, because 5 minutes flat she came storming down, hair frizzed from humidity, voice a whip. What's going on here? This is rigged. Ray turned, easy as pie. Inspection, ma'am. Everything checks out. That's impossible. It collapsed. He thumbed at the bridge, still spanning proud. Looks solid to me. She glared daggers at us both, muttering corruption under her breath like a spell gone sour, then stomped back to her SUV in a huff of dust. That night, after Ray's visit, the hammer dropped literally. A process server in a rumpled suit caught me at the mailbox, thrusting papers that crinkled like bad news. Ironwood Ridge Homeowners Association versus Ethan Harper. They were gunning for $200,000 property damage to shared infrastructure, plus emotional distress for the whole damn neighborhood, as if Valerie's bruised ego was a class action suit. I scanned the legalese under the porch light, the creek murmuring mockery below. Emotional distress, from a bridge that outlasted their welcome. I called Dana Fields the next morning, small-town attorney with a voice like barbed wire wrapped in velvet, the kind who could gut a fish and make it thank her. We met at her office, a shotgun shack crammed with filing cabinets and the faint scent of Victory cigars. She skimmed the complaint, lips quirking. "This is ridiculous, Ethan. Smoke and mirrors. We'll counter with reality." She tapped my folder photos, time-stamped like alibis, county maps etched in permanence, videos crisp as fresh-plucked truth. "You've got dead to rights. Just keep that cool head of yours when the circus rolls in." The courthouse smelled like old books and older grudges, wooden benches worn smooth by a century of small-town spats. I sat in the back row first, flannel shirt my armor, while Valerie swept in up front, navy suit starched to severity, expression carved from granite. Her lawyer, a gelhead hotshot from the city, all cufflinks and condescension, opened with a bang, "Your Honor." The defendant deliberately weakened the community bridge, endangering lives for petty vengeance. Dana rose smooth as a drawbridge, her heels clicking authority. "Correction. Private bridge, private land, posted limit, ignored. No weakening, just physics doing its job." She laid out the exhibit parade, deeds unfolding like battle flags, videos rolling silent on the screen, the trucks dipped, the splatter, Valerie's flail and glorious 4K. Then the witnesses. Joel first, toolbox, swearing he'd seen HOA rigs bulldoze warnings like they were suggestions. "Ain't sabotage if it's engineered safe," he drawled. Tom followed. The retired engineer with wire rims and a spine of rebar. "Those shear pins. Standard failsafe for overloads. Your client's truck. Clears it fine. That cement mixer. 12 tons loaded, recipe for regret." Sketches bloomed on easel. Load arrows pointing doom. Math as merciless as gravity. Finally, Valerie took the stand, perched like a queen on a wobbly throne. Her lawyer lobbed softballs. "Do you believe Mr. Harper intentionally caused the failure?" "I know he did," she snapped, eyes flashing. "He even said gravity would teach us boundaries." Dana approached slow, folder in hand like a loaded revolver. "Mrs. Dawson, how many times did HOA vehicles cross my client's bridge?" Valerie hesitated, fingers twisting her hem. "Maybe 10. But each time over the 5-ton limit. They weren't official limits. Not approved by." Dana slid forward a spec sheet, bold print, screaming specs. "And you're aware your husband's truck weighed 12 tons loaded?" Valerie's face bloomed red as brake lights. "That's irrelevant. Last question." Dana unfurled the county plat, lines laser. "Aware this shows the bridge entirely on Mr. Harper's property." Valerie's mouth opened a fish on dry dock, nothing but air. The gallery tittered, tension cracking like thin ice. When Dana sat, the judge leaned forward, glasses perched low, gavel idle in his fist. "I've seen my share of HOA dust-ups, folks, fences, flags, the occasional feud over lawn gnomes, but this might be the first time someone's buried their credibility in wet cement." He rapped once, final as a full stop. "Case dismissed." The gavel's echo thundered. Cheers rippled from the benches. Outside, reporters swarmed like creek minnows. "Mr. Harper, any comment?" One micked up. I grinned, the weight lifting like fog at noon. Never underestimate a good bridge. But Valerie wasn't done, not yet. 2 days later, the HOA called an emergency post-trial huddle, rec center packed tighter than a sardine supper. She stood at the podium, voice a tremor of defiance wrapped in denial. "The court's decision was based on incomplete information. We will appeal to protect this community from one man's grudge." Hands shot up, murmurs swelling like a storm. I raised mine, casual as casting a line. "Before you do, Valerie, you might want to see this." I ambled to the projector, plugged in my flash drive. Up loomed a government dock, red stamp blazing U.S. Federal Waterway License. Private Access Corridor, 2007. This here's a 20-year permit. Exclusive crossing rights over the creek water bridge, land beneath. Outside HOA jurisdiction, stamped and sealed. Gasps sucked the air dry. Valerie's eyes darted wild, clipboard clattering. "You forged that." Tom bolted up, folder in fist. "No, ma'am. I verified it myself this morning. Renewal letter and all." He flipped pages. "Audits next, ink fresh. $42,000 in legal fees, paid without board vote. Playground lights. Still, dark as of your war chest." The room erupted, shouts of "resign." "And where's our money?" Hannah, the neutral neighbor who'd sat silent for months, stood tall. "You sold us lies, Valerie. Used yous for your vendetta." Boat cold hands flew up like flags in a gale, everyone but hers. Valerie gathered her papers, trembling, and stormed the door. No cameras this time, no viral glory, just the hollow click of defeat. I caught her. I won last beat. "You're right about one thing. It's just one man with a bridge." The crowd's laughter rolled, half relief, half reckoning. But that bridge carried truth, And you drove right over it. I figured that was the end of it, the gavel's echo fading like a summer storm. But folks like Valerie don't fade, they fester. Still, a week later, a crisp envelope arrived. Not from a process server but the new board. Tom at the helm now, his signature steady as a level line. The Ironwood Ridge HOA formally acknowledges your ownership of Harper Bridge, it read, and apologizes for prior misconduct. Thank you for your patience. And your example. Enclosed a check for $1,000, earmarked for legal dust bill. I didn't cash it, nor framed it right beside that faded photo of the bridge fresh built. Me knee-deep in sawdust, grinning like I'd conquered the creek itself. A trophy not of gold, but grit. Life slipped back into its quiet groove after that. The creek found its rhythm again, that low hum threading through the oaks like an old hymn. No more diesel growls, just the rustle of leaves and the occasional bike bell from the kids next door staying well shy of the waterline. Joel rolled up one dusk with a six-pack dangling from his fingers, condensation beating cold. We perched on the railing, boots dangling over the edge, cracking cans to the splash of foam. So, what's next for the man who beat the HOA? He asked, foam mustache quirking. Retirement, I said, clinking his bottle, till someone paints their mailbox the wrong shade of eggshell. He barked a laugh, the sound bouncing off the water. Out here, that's tomorrow's headline. We sat there as the sun dipped, light fracturing gold on the ripple's easy silence, the kind earned. I thought about that span of wood and nails, how something so small became a battleground for pride and power, lines drawn in mud and money. People think tales like this are revenge wrapped in a bow. They're not. They're about respect, holding your ground without turning mean, drawing boundaries that bend but don't break. Patience isn't weakness. It's the slow current that wears stone smooth. Silence isn't surrender. It's the space where truth settles. And gravity, it always keeps its promises, pulling the heavy down, letting the light float free. So tell me, have you ever tangled with your own Valerie? That neighbor who mistook your kindness for a doormat? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. Swear it. If this hit home, smash that like, hit subscribe for more Creekside truths, and share it with someone fighting their corner. Out here, there's always another story waiting to cross the bridge.